Pete, what's up, brother?
E, what's going on, man?
How come you're not in a sauna?
Oh man, so I just got out of a meeting and I needed to plug my computer in here. Otherwise, my computer's gonna die on you. But man, I would totally be down next time. Maybe we do part two, and I'll be shooting from the sauna.
Let's do it. I think I figured out the hack. So I have the sauna on. I don't know if you can see it glowing or not, but
Yeah,
I only set it. I set it to 140, and I have the door open, and I have the laptop outside of the sauna. So
I
hopefully
love that.
this will alleviate any overheating issues.
So we should all expect as we're watching this that 20 minutes in you'll just be glistening with sweat. You'll you'll be in your happy place. I love that.
That's what we're shooting for. Yeah, just pure euphoria.
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
So for those tuning in, this is my good friend Pete, who is the founder of this beautiful cedar sauna that I am sitting in called SISU Sauna. So let's start a little bit with your background, what got you into sauna, and ultimately what led to you starting this amazing company in Ohio.
Yeah, thanks, man. So, I want to try to do like the Spark Notes version because we could talk about it for an hour. We started this sauna idea 7 months ago on a trail run. My business partner, Nick Gaddis, who is the other co-founder of SISU Sauna, we became a dealer of a different brand from Canada 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he brought me along for the ride a little bit in there, just kind of showed me the ins and outs of sauna. He introduced me to sauna. And essentially, we got to a point during the pandemic where there was issues with supply chain. There was issues with 11 to 15 month lead times. There's a whole slew of things where we ended up deciding on this trail run that we were going to dissolve this dealership. And then 10 minutes later on that same trail run, we're like, actually, maybe we should go into manufacturing. And it was crazy. And this was at 5 a.m. in the morning with the headlights on in the valley. And we had amazing connections down in Amish country. And that led us to Mark Polari, who is Mark Polari is our manufacturing team lead, and he has this amazing Amish workforce. And so we brought him this idea, and he's like, man, we could really do something great with this. So we ended up taking this barrel model, and out of this barrel model, we ended up doing this beautiful 6 foot diameter by 7 foot deep barrel. And we sourced it with a Hume heater, and we realized that there was no Hume heaters, barrel saunas, Eric's beautiful heater back there, on the market. And so we decided to go all in on Hume and hit the market on August 1st. And August 1st hit, and it's been insane ever since. And Eric's been a huge part of that growth and success.
That's so cool to hear.
Yeah.
And how about that the business idea came about while you were on this trail run? I really feel like those are when the best things come for me, is when moving meditation, when I'm out running in the woods, running along the ocean, mountain biking, because you're able to make space in your mind for all of those experiences you've collected over time, all of those conversations, all of those people that you've met, and you're able to make something of it. So it's so cool to hear that the whole idea came about at 5:30 in the morning on this trail run when it's still pitch dark outside.
Absolutely. And you made a post yesterday about how you've created this meeting environment inside your barrel, and it's along the same exact lines. I think what ends up happening is that we disassociate from our phones, we disassociate from the real world, and you're really present-minded in that moment. And some of the most clear and best thoughts I've ever had have either happened in the sauna or when I'm deep on an ultra marathon. And I think, go ahead.
Same way I feel. I mean, that's why the sauna meetings have become so important to me. And it used to be dinner meetings and drinks, and then it was coffee meetings when I stopped drinking. And I feel like I'm able to unlock so much more in my mind when I'm in the sauna because, your serotonin levels are higher. You're in a captive environment. You're not being distracted, so you can be super present with the people that you're with. And yeah, the conversations I have in here, not only are they amazing, but I feel like you remember them afterwards so well too. Like they're etched in your mind, almost like a psychedelic experience. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and I think everybody's on the same playing field too when they're in the sauna. You can't hide when you're in a sauna. There's no position that's necessarily comfortable when things get real hot. And it makes everybody come to baseline and come to grips with each other and come into this common, forefront with idea. And then, like you say, I mean, you've closed on some important deals in the sauna. And
Yeah.
I've done the same thing. We actually, ironically, our first meeting as a trio between Nick, Mark, and I was in my sauna in my backyard, and that's where we ended up coming down to terms with the barrel shape and how we're doing the bands and the
Hmm.
heater. All that happened in the sauna. This didn't happen in a rec room or
Hmm.
on drinks. It was no, we were all sweating. We all had clipboards out and our notebooks out, and we're sweating on our paper, and
Hmm.
it felt right, and it felt viscerally right
That's
that
so cool.
we came up with this idea and we brought it to fruition through our experiences in the sauna.
That's so cool. I do feel like you're so decisive in the sauna too. Your decisions are so clear, and yeah, it's just incredible. This mental mindset that it unlocks when you're sauna, and the cold exposure too. I feel like going back and forth is, where I just have this extreme focus, extreme presence with those I'm with. And so the overall concept for this podcast is to have people in here doing the podcast with me in the sauna, have a GoPro set up inside, and have like a temperature overlay on top, so it shows what the temperature is, 200 degrees.
I love
And
it.
as the conversation gets deeper, your head's down, you're sweating all over the place, and then someone's like, "I gotta go get in the ice barrel."
Yeah, that's right. So
We had a new buddy over yesterday, this guy Bobby, who's a collegiate skier, one of the best skiers in the world, downhill skiing, slalom. And we were having a great conversation. My first time I've ever met him. He's 21, 22 years old. And I could tell he was getting really uncomfortable, but our conversation was so good. Like, he didn't want to get out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
finally he was like, do you mind if I go in the ice barrel? I'm like, dude, you should have asked 5 minutes ago. It looked like you needed to go 5 minutes ago in the ice barrel.
that's what we call the hijack by Hinman, man.
Yeah, exactly.
He hook, line, and sinker. I love that. Have you ever told people about how you got your start with sauna and like what your first experience was like, and then how that's kind of evolved? Because I don't know myself.
Yeah, I don't know that I've shared it. So my start in sauna dates back to 2012 when I was preparing for Ironman World Championships in Kona, Hawaii. I was training in Syracuse, New York, and I had seen some infrared sauna studios popping up, and I was curious. And I knew I needed to become heat adapted for the heat and humidity and racing along the lava fields in Kona, Hawaii. So
Right.
I booked a sauna session at this place called Saunas that one of my friends still owns. Her name is Gina. And it was a 45-minute session. The temperature was set to maybe 160 degrees. And I remember like 20 minutes in, like I was used to discomfort because I'm training
Yeah.
for Ironman, but like 20 minutes in of this 45-minute session, I'm like, I don't know if I can make this. Like, I think I'm going to have to go out and catch a
Yeah.
breath. And, like, I was so hot. And I did. Like 25 minutes in, I had to go outside the sauna and cool off a little bit and then go back in to finish up my 45-minute session. And like, I didn't know any of the benefits around sauna back then. I specifically was using it for heat adaptation. And, it definitely helped me prepare for Kona. But ultimately, like after a few sessions, I started to realize the mental clarity I had after the sauna. I'm like, damn, this is a very similar feeling to that post-workout high, that post-workout endorphin rush, the post-workout mental clarity, the post-workout energy that you would get. So I really got hooked on that, and I continued going back for 3 to 4 sessions a week just because of how great my mind felt. And, obviously it was helping me with recovery as well. I was able to, put in more volume, strength train, run, bike, swim, all of that. And then it wasn't until I moved to Denver in 2017 that I got into the contrast therapy. And one of my friends, Matt Lloyd, who owned Mountain Strong Denver, a CrossFit gym, he told me about this place called Denver Sports Recovery. And he said they have an infrared sauna there because I told him I was looking for a place to find an infrared sauna. And they also have a hot tub and a cold plunge. So I went there, I did 50 minutes in the infrared sauna, and then 3 rounds, 5 minutes in the hot tub, 5 minutes in the cold plunge. And I think they keep their cold plunge at like 52, which now for me doesn't seem all that cold, but then it was
But at the
damn
time,
cold.
yeah.
Yeah, at the time, I certainly got a stimulus from it. So I did that religiously for 2 years. Every single night I would go there for a 90-minute session. And not only did my body feel good, my mind felt good, I felt energized, but that was when I started realizing the culture around sauna and the interesting people I was meeting, the incredible conversations I was having, the deep bonds I was forming with people. It was really during that 2-year period where it brought in the community aspect and the conversational aspect of it, because back at Sauna Q's, they were just individual infrared saunas. You were booking, your own. I wasn't doing it with others. So yeah, that's where the community aspect of it started. And I was like, damn, like this is how I want to entertain eventually. I want to have my own sauna and cold plunges where we can invite people over. And this is how we're going to entertain. And this is how I'm going to conduct meetings. And this is where I want to have, captive, deep conversations with people.
And you're a bona fide host. You always have people coming through. And I've always found, especially like when I'll come out to hang out with you guys, we'll get our training in, and then we always finish up the day with sauna and ice, and then we go directly into eating, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And you always feel amazing at the end of the day, and you feel when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel like you're groggy. You feel like you're energized, and you want to wake up, and here we go. And I think the sauna is a huge cultivator of just feeling amazing. And I think that, and it's one of the pieces of feedback I've gotten on our sauna, and especially with the Hume heater. I think that the Hume heater, because the rock volume is so substantial compared to other heaters on the market, it just provides this really intense heat experience that is getting people into an uncomfortable state in the sauna. And at which point, once they exit the sauna, whether they have their cooling period in the ice barrel or just outside, it's creating this endorphin rush that you're talking about. And it just gets them feeling amazing. They're thinking so clear. And one of your good buddies, Matt Sager, was telling me that some of his anxiety and some of his things that he thinks about during the day, from a negative standpoint, have kind of gone away. And that's just through him sauning 2 to 3 times. And what we're seeing is a lot of the benefits of just one sauna session for 15 to 20 minutes could last up to 6 weeks. Wow. And that's just one session. And then when you start to look at the research that's coming out of 2 to 3 times a week or 4 to 5 times a week, and it's just, we're kind of realizing that 4 to 5 times a week is really the end all be all to really getting a grips on not just all cause mortality, where, just any way that you could possibly die, it just goes way down. But you start seeing people from an athletic standpoint, increase performance, from a recovery standpoint, increase. Just from their interactions with people, all those things start to positively get impacted all through the sauna. And that's why we're all in on traditional heaters through Hume, why we're not in infrared, because the heat, the temperature that we could get up to, if we want to go steam and make it a wet sauna, we can. And they're built to last. And I want this to be a community experience through and through. SISU is a Finnish word for tenacity, grit, and perseverance. And the Finnish culture, they've always made this, ever since the dawn of time. They made it a community experience. Some of the biggest family decisions were made in the sauna. Some of the best conversations happened in the sauna. Now, granted, sometimes in the past they would drink and then go into the sauna. It's not really beneficial. What we're realizing now, it's not advisable. But you're starting to see these little ways of life that were created in Finland through the sauna that are now creeping their way into the United States. And I think that it's important that more people from an experiential side just get into the sauna, whether or not they purchase a $40 session at their local club to get in the sauna, or they find a friend that has it. I think that their lives are going to be much better off because they're using the sauna, and their relationships are going to be much more rich.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I mean, so infrared sauna is where I started. This is typically where I'm doing my sauna sessions now, is in a traditional sauna, just because it gets so much hotter. I still like infrared saunas, and if I'm traveling and I can't find a traditional sauna, I'll book an infrared sauna studio, but this is my preferred mechanism. But at the same time, I still do sometimes switch out of this just so I don't completely adapt. Obviously, you're never going to completely adapt to 220 degrees, but I want to continue getting that same serotonin boost. So, I'll do this 4 to 5 times per week, and then the other days, kind of like exercise, it'll be more of a resting recovery day where I might just do a hot Epsom salt bath or some red light therapy, something where I'm not taxing my nervous system with doing this. But it has been so cool to see so many people doing this in their homes, like getting a sauna, setting up something similar to what we have. You know, I train twice a day, and
Yeah.
I've been joking with some friends lately. Like the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've had a few days where I'm doing 2 sauna sessions at different people's places because
Yeah.
our friend group has them now. That's what the invites are. Or hey, you want to come over and sauna and meet this new person? So it's really cool seeing this, whole community form around backyard sauna and cold exposure culture.
And we really hope to be, from SISU side, to be at the forefront of that. I think that we can do it, and finding guys like you who are not just great representations and ambassadors of the brand, be advocates for the sauna. But I think the education side is really important, and I think that there's a lot of ineducation on traditional sauna therapy. And it's one of our end all be alls with SISU is to really provide that education piece to people and get our ambassadors to educate people on that, and trust our ambassadors through their sauna process. And like you're saying, I mean, out in Colorado, you have 4 or 5 people now who have barrel saunas, and you could just barrel hop kind of, and it's making for really fun, cool things. And I think what's awesome is that you've kind of become like the sauna god, in my opinion, where you have people that come to you to experience the sauna for the first time, and now they're buying it, and now they're creating the same exact setup that you are, where now they're bringing their family, and there's this beautiful butterfly effect where people are now all coming into their own saunas, hosting family, hosting friends, and more people want that because I'm saying, and it just takes one session for people to realize that it can make such a positive difference in their life.
Yeah, it's Matt Sager was over here yesterday. He installed these really cool track LED lights, which I'll send you a video later on tonight so you can see what they look like. You probably see what Matt's look like. But he was saying he's invited a bunch of people over to his house that are completely new to sauna and cold exposure. And, sauna, I think, is easy for most people to wrap their heads around, even though for me, I get more uncomfortable now in the sauna than I do in the cold. But, he was saying, like, the some of his friends coming over were so scared about the cold, like, didn't trust themselves, kind of like tiptoed in. And then once they dunked in the cold exposure, like they were in there for 2 or 3 minutes. And afterwards they were like, dude, that was transformational. Can I come over tomorrow? Like it really does instantly impact you, which, I love this quote that people remember you most based on how you make them feel. And what I love so much about sauna and cold exposure is you don't need any skill to do it. It's not like CrossFit. It's not like mountain biking where, you're going to need some skill in order to enjoy it and in order to get into the same type of flow state that I get into. But with sauna and cold exposure, you don't need any skill. All you need is a little mental grit and the ability to say yes. Come over, sit in the sauna with me until you get uncomfortable. Go in the cold until you get uncomfortable. Let's do 2 to 3 rounds of that, and you're going to feel it. You are 100% going to feel something in the moment, and you're going to feel something afterwards. And then if you do this for a year, 3 to 4 times per week, it's going to change your life. You're going to be a better person. You're going to have a more robust immune system. You're going to have more mental grit. You're going to have more stress resilience. When someone cuts you off on the road, you're not going to give them the fucking finger. Yeah. You're going to be stoked about life,
Right.
And that's what I love so much about it is like, this is just another one of those practices that I've been able to build into my life that just keeps like the flow state going all day. My spirit high, my energy levels high, my attitude positive. And I really think it's a practice that hopefully really becomes commonplace just like it is in Finland.
Yeah, and I think it will. I think it'll happen here with time, and we just need to continue to make it more and more accessible for people. From our company standpoint, we're continuing to work with different, financing partners so people could do these down to like monthly payments instead of having to do one chunk. But also at the same time, like you had mentioned that like your barrel sauna experience is very community driven. I know a lot of people also, we get the question all the time. I know you do too. Is like, is there a 1 to 2 person barrel that I could buy? And we are in the process of creating one that's going to hit the market here soon. But I always try to lean people toward this, 7 foot or so deep barrel, because not only if it's just you or another person, you can lay completely down to a bench. I don't think people have been in a hot enough sauna if they've never, had to lay down before. But sometimes you need sometimes you need to move in position. In a
Yeah.
one and two person barrel, you can't do that.
Right.
But what that does, though, it does lower the barrier for entry in terms of resources invested into the sauna.
Sure.
And then if you want an intimate conversation or experience with somebody, you can do that in that barrel style. But to piggyback off your what you were saying before too, I think the barrier for entry for sauna and ice, specifically the sauna first and then the ice. The barrier for entry in the ice goes down because it's like, man, I feel so uncomfortable right now in the sauna. Once it gets hot enough, where you're like,
Yeah.
I need to cool off.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people who are listening have ever just gone straight into the ice versus go sauna to ice. I've always found it that I enjoy my ice barrel sessions a lot more when I'm sweating my ass off and I
Yeah.
pop in
Same.
for 2 to 3 minutes, and then you pop back, and it's like this euphoric sensation when your skin and everything's all cold, and you pop in the sauna. It's 220 degrees,
Yep.
and it takes like 4 or 5 minutes for you to be like, oh man, like wait, I'm sweating still.
Yeah.
It's really cool. But I think the barrier for entry for most people, you don't need to be talented at anything to sit in the sauna.
Hmm.
That's a beautiful thing, because now you could work yourself, from 160 degrees to 180 to 200, and eventually potentially to where you're at. I
Hmm.
think you're an extremist from the sauna perspective. I think everybody knows that. I don't think
Hmm.
that everybody needs to be at 220 degrees. I find that majority of people will have a great experience around 190 to 200. And
Hmm.
then from there, over time, as they acclimate, they could go from there. But like I'm saying, you could adjust the temperature on your heater, no problem, to meet yourself where you're at, lower the barrier for entry, and then incorporate cold exposure from there. But
Yep.
just to do minimum 5 minutes, but ideally 15 to 20 minutes on the sauna is ideal.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, here's what the app looks like right here. Is It's just this Home Heater app that you can control from anywhere. So I can turn this on when I'm on the top of a mountain or when I'm touching down on a flight, and then I can adjust the temperature right on the app. So it's been really cool to have this Wi-Fi capability to turn it on from anywhere. And one of the things I really like about this Home Heater as well is that it has a 3-hour runtime standard, and I'm assuming I could probably change that if I wanted to. But I know a lot of other heaters on the market, because of U.S. regulations, they only will stay on for 60 minutes, and you have to keep going out and like fidgeting with a dial to turn it back on again. So this is so nice in that it just runs for 3 hours at a time. Like today we have people coming over at 4 o'clock. I'll set it to turn on at 3, right after we get off of this podcast, so that I know that it's going to be heated up by 4 o'clock. And you don't even need, I mean, this is also cool, this barrel shape, and with the roof kit too, the heat stays in so well. It's been heating up in about 45 minutes to 200 plus degrees, which is pretty damn fast. Other
Very
saunas
efficient.
I've been in, sometimes like you have to do 2 of those 60-minute cycles to get it in the 180, 190 range.
Which is
And,
a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I agree with you on the temperature. It's kind of like exercise. Like the more you do it, kind of the higher intensity you have to go, the longer you have to go to get the same feeling. So, for me, the 200 to 220 is where within 20 minutes I'll start to be really uncomfortable, which is kind of the time domain I like to get uncomfortable in the sauna. And then I'll go out and do 3 to 5 minutes in the cold at 40 to 45 degrees. But yeah, the barometer for me is, when do I start feeling really uncomfortable? And that's generally when I'm sweating profusely, my head is starting to go down. And then, I'll look at my heart rate, and my resting heart rate is around 40 to 45. When my heart rate gets to around 100, I know that's when my body's pretty stressed out and it's time for me to get out. So for everyone, it's different. I think you really have to just judge your discomfort level and know when you're uncomfortable, know when you've gotten the benefits. You should definitely be sweating. Your head should probably be down. Like you should be seeking cooler air, and then go jump in the cold exposure, or just go outside. There's a lot of science around just doing multiple sauna sessions where you're in the sauna, go outside and cool down for 5 minutes. Go back in the sauna, go outside and cool down. I think the study that Andrew Huberman talked about was 4 rounds at 20 to 30 minutes. at about a 180 to 185 temperature, and it boosts human growth hormone by 16 times. Incredible. And a lot of that effect is coming from the heating up, cooling down, heating up, cooling down. So that's why we do that contrast therapy, is because of the different temperatures and your body working hard to try and cool itself down, try and heat itself up, try and cool itself down. And that's going to boost human growth hormone. And obviously it's pumping blood. That's the reason why you're recovering faster, is you have so much blood flow from doing that.
Yeah, it is very euphoric too. And in that study too, they listed that it's about 1 to 2 times weekly of that specific protocol, because it's such a lengthy protocol. I mean, you're talking like an hour and a half to 2 hours of spending between, heat and cold. But it is like that deliberate response between heat exposure, that dynorphin experience where you're like, man, I need to get the hell out of here, into this cooling where it's like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. Most people need to get past that first 30 seconds, and then they're pretty solid. And that's where you result to breathing techniques. But then once you go back into the sauna, it's like you're saying, you have this vasodilation and vasoconstriction, weird experience happening that, the closest thing you could possibly get to that is potentially drugs and exercise. But even exercise is more vasodilation than it is vasoconstriction. So you just get this wild experience. And that's one of the reasons why we've been able to, why I believe that our partnership with Ice Barrel is so important. And for us to be able to, we've done this contrast package where people are able to buy or invest into an Edwin barrel, which is the barrel that Eric is in right now with the Hume heater, plus an Ice Barrel, because the two just work magic, like legit magic. And I believe that a lot of people who, and I'm not a doctor, don't quote me on this, but I really believe that some people could potentially go off of like medications and whatnot if they just deliberately use some of this stuff on a frequent basis. And that's just 2 to 3 times a week. But moving the body and sweating is just this. Movement is medicine. It really is. But at the same time, sweat is what I think is extremely important too. You can move, which is great, but sweating means that you're stressing the body. And we sometimes need to stress the body to be able to get this awesome result on the back end. So you and I could geek out forever too about protocols and whatnot, but I thought that human growth hormone part was really interesting. I know a lot of people, we get a lot of questions asked of when should we start implementing sauna, especially when people just invest into a sauna, like when should I start doing it? Should I do it in the morning? Should I do it in the evening? Should I do it before or after workouts? Like when do I implement ice? And a lot of it is an individualized response, and also to like when it fits in your schedule, because I know a lot of people that buy these have very hectic schedules. Yeah. So, you have to figure out when works for you. There's really no bad time. We are finding that at night it's better for the body, just from a research side, compared to that of the morning. We are finding too that ice, if you are specifically going for strength gains and you're specifically going for muscle mass increase, that you don't want to implement ice before or after the workout. But what we are finding is that if we move ice exposure to 3 to 4 hours outside of before or after your workout, introduced also with sauna, we're finding amazing benefits, like you're saying, from an HGH or human growth hormone standpoint. But I found personally that my best sauna experiences happen a half hour before bed. I hit bed and I am not waking up whatsoever. I don't take any supplementation prior, and I just have like these really rich dreams that I'm typically dreaming. Sometimes I've had lucid dreams, during my sleep after I've had, this awesome sauna session. And then I wake up feeling like $1 million with just a bunch of energy. And I typically, if I have sauna the night before, do not require coffee in the morning for me to get going.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is intention with all of this stuff. And I always tell people that first and foremost, consistency is the best way to do it. So
for anything,
if that's in the morning for you, then do it in the morning. Like having a structure with it is the number one thing that you should consider with your life. So, if it's way easier for you to do it in the morning, right after you do your morning workout before you go into the office, do it then. You're not losing a tremendous amount of benefit by any means by doing it in the morning, the afternoon, the evening. So when does it fit with your structure, I think, is the very first thing you should think about. And then second is, what is your goal with it? For some, it might be for athletic performance. So, that they're doing it for a recovery standpoint. For some, it might be the mental benefits that we just talked about, where you're building stress resilience. It's helping you with anxiety. It's helping you with, any kind of mental diseases. And then there's, people that are bodybuilders, hypertrophy. And I would agree with you with the hypertrophy side of things, that if your sole intention is to gain muscle mass, sauna is fine right after a workout. I think sauna is actually good right after a hypertrophy workout.
It is.
But cold exposure, I think the protocol is waiting at least 4 hours to do it. But again, that's like your sole goal is hypertrophy. That isn't performance. That isn't mental performance. That isn't strength even. That isn't endurance. For all of those things, and again, I'm not a scientist either, but my belief is the more volume you can put in, the better you're going to perform. And in order to put in more volume, you want to recover faster. You want to rid your body of that inflammation so you can hit it hard again the next day. So with that being said, I'll do cold exposure whenever, because my goal is performance, and more so my goal is just feeling good day in and day out. So I'm going to do it whenever it fits with my schedule based on that intention. But even if your intention is performance, I don't think it's bad to do it immediately after a workout. Again, if your sole goal is not bodybuilding and building as much muscle mass as possible, then you want the inflammation because you're trying to grow your muscles as big as possible. But for performance, I think it's just incorporating it when it fits with your structure. Ideally, if you have all the time in the world, then do it in the evening. Do it, we do ours typically at 4 p.m. And the only reason we do it then is because that's when often I can invite people to come over and do it with us. And it's just become a routine to kind of wind down my day, like we discussed about earlier, doing sauna cold and then having a barbecue here for people.
Yeah, 100%. And you hit the nail right on the head. I would say like 99.9% of people can implement ice at any point of their day and will be just fine. I believe that. It's not going to ruin their goals. Majority of people that walk this earth just want to feel good, be happy, be able to go about their day and without stress. And I find that when you implement the sauna, when you implement ice, your day is always better, whether that's in the morning, whether that's in the evening. But like you said, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You do it at 4 o'clock because that's when it works for most people. Mm-hmm. That fits your structure. I'm sure that if you weren't going to host people, I'm sure you'd probably be doing it at a different point of the day, and that's fine. But again, that works for you. And I think people get too into the nitty gritty about some things versus just doing it and figuring out like whether or not that works for them. I think experimentation on the exercise standpoint as well as recovery standpoint is super important. The way my body reacts to carbohydrates is going to be different than the way it reacts to you. The way my body responds to sauna is going to be different than the way it does to you. But the only way you find out is through experimentation. And I think we could do that a lot through the sauna.
Can't agree more. And you had talked about the sauna as medicine. So I'm doing a podcast with this dude, Cold Plunge Cam, on Instagram. I don't know if you follow him or not.
I don't.
His whole shtick is, so he went from like 300 followers to 150,000 followers in about a 10-day period. And his whole thing is, he lives in just outside of Boise, Idaho. And I believe his home is either on or very close to a cold stream with a mountain background. It's a beautiful, beautiful landscape. And he goes out there either in the cold stream or some type of cold exposure tub, stock tank, whatever, right next to the stream. And then he'll have like Chick-fil-A, or he'll be eating Krispy Kreme donuts or some like wild food. And he has Tourette's syndrome, and he got into cold exposure specifically to try and help his Tourette's syndrome and high levels of anxiety. And it's been just monumental for him in helping with those two things. So you're so right that I think a lot of people don't think of this as a protocol to help you get over some of the ailments you may have.
Yeah.
Especially mental ailments.
Yes. And like you're saying, I think that like where the healthcare system, and I think a lot of people listening to this would agree to this, like where the healthcare system's at, it's very like Band-Aid-ish, where somebody comes in, here's this, go do this, you'll be fine in 2 weeks. Yeah. Versus like, all right, like what do we actually need to solve? And like we were saying, if we could get people just smiling more, sweating more, and doing things together more, people will feel a lot better. And, through deliberate cold exposure, it's such a wild experience. But when you come out, I mean, I don't know if you guys know of Wyatt, the founder of Ice Barrel. He had this super high stress job
Yeah.
selling
Jets.
aviation. Yeah,
Hmm.
jets. And it was very high stress. And somebody looked at him one day and was like, man, you look like shit. You
Hmm.
got to change something. And that same guy introduced him to cold, and it changed his life forever. Not obviously from a family and financial standpoint with where Ice Barrel is at, but just from a mental side.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes. This guy who has Tourette's and other ailments, where he's able to solve some of these root causes through, again, deliberate cold exposure.
Yeah.
It's very, very fascinating.
Yeah. The way I
But
like
10
to,
days,
yeah.
so I was gonna say,
Ten,
like in 10 days, he 150,000 followers. That to me just tells you that this guy has a story that he's gonna tell for many, many years, and more
oh
people
yeah.
need to hear his story.
Can't agree more. Yeah, he's a fascinating dude. I'm excited to chat with him later on today. The way I explain it for myself is, let's say I have all of these to dos and they just kind of stack up vertically on top of me, over the day. As soon as I do my sauna and cold plunge session, all of those to dos that have just the weight of the world is on my shoulders. It all of a sudden becomes like horizontal in front of me, and I feel like I can just like tiptoe over all of it. That's how it feels for me. It's just such a stress relief doing this protocol, and you feel it right after, which is the cool thing. There's a lot of things, supplements and other recovery protocols that I do where there's some science behind it, but I can't say I feel a certain way immediately afterwards. This is one of those where I feel a certain way immediately afterwards.
Yeah, and people need to be for themselves need to be very in tune with that, because whether or not it's sauna or it's something else, like going for a walk in the park or taking their dog for a walk or playing with their kids, if they get that sensation, that feeling that you get from the sauna. Again, it doesn't have to be with sauna, but they need to continue to do that. The consistency of that feeling of where they feel like they're getting not just benefit, but they feel like a kid and they
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're getting something out of it. I feel like people will start for 1 to 2 weeks of doing that and then they go away from it. It was
Mm-hmm.
working. It's like, why would you go away from something that's working?
Mm-hmm.
And so the more you can make it part of your routine, put it on your schedule. I know a lot of people who typically will sauna have very packed schedules. That's just the nature of people who sauna. I'd like to eventually kind of crash that norm and get anybody and everybody in the sauna. But if we could put that into your schedule, onto your calendar, this is when I do it, you're going to be more likely to do it just from the subconscious thought because now it's a priority. That's where
Yeah.
the consistency happens.
Yeah.
And I do that with all my workouts. I do it with all my training. I do that with
It's prioritized.
groceries, priorities. Like if it's important to you, you will do it. If it's not, you will not do it.
Yeah.
And sauna to me is important. To you, it's
Yeah.
important, and you're making it important, and you're bringing people along for the ride. And that's when you start to have this, like we were saying, this beautiful butterfly effect, where now
Mm-hmm.
we're starting to change lives through sauna.
Yeah. Well, also, it's multitasking without multitasking. I go to the grocery store as well. I enjoy going and picking up my food, but I can't
Right.
really multitask any of it. Maybe it's a time where I can bond with my girlfriend Sarah, but outside of that, there's really no additional benefits. Whereas this, like, you could come in here and listen to a podcast and learn something. You could host meetings in here and, create opportunities for yourself. You could do this with your family and have deep, meaningful conversations with them and bond with them. You're going to get the recovery benefits from it. You're going to get the mental benefits of it. It's just like habit stacking all of these different things by spending an
Yes.
hour in here. So yeah, there's just so many compounding benefits that you can get with the sauna and the cold exposure that go beyond just like sitting on a bench for an hour.
We got to get James Clear on your podcast then. Well, Atomic
Yeah.
Habits and
Yeah.
talk about habits.
I've read his book.
Yeah, excellent book. We need to get him on the podcast. That would be so fun. And just
That would
tell
be.
like, hey man, we are habit stacking
Yeah.
with the best of them right now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. So hey, so we were talking like the first question today was like, how did we start this idea? I love to like talk a little bit about like how I even got introduced to sauna as well.
Yeah.
I was telling you guys about my business partner Nick and how he introduced sauna to me. I own a gym in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where we live. That's where my family is, called Black Flag Athletics. And I started off as a personal trainer. And I was always looking for ways to increase recovery for my athletes. I was typically working with either, house moms, or I was working on the opposite end of the spectrum with basketball players and, collegiate players, professional players. And we were always trying to figure out ways to just expedite recovery. Like you're saying, athletes end up putting a lot of volume on their body, and the way for them to be able to get back to working at this level is to introduce recovery. And this natural conversation, Nick, my business partner, was a member of our gym that I co-own with my business partner Tom Rini. He was like, "Man, like, what do you think about this? Let's just try it out. You know, like I started up this dealership in Ohio. I think that you could be pretty solid with it." So he invested into a sauna at my house, and I remember my first session. It was in the morning. I had a cup of coffee. I brought it in, and I was like, "Man, this was a mistake bringing coffee into here. Oh my gosh!" And the next night, I brought over two of my friends, and we were sitting in the sauna, and we got up to like 210 degrees. And just like you said, all of a sudden the hands go and everybody's conversation stopped. And there was one point, I think I asked the two guys, I was like, "Man, I might have to get out of here." And they're like, "No, you're not. You're staying in." And so we lasted like 20 minutes at 210, where if like you've never done it before, like that, it feels like you're going to, pass away twice in there.
Brutal.
So it's important to have people in there. But, I started off as a trainer and eventually, into ownership of this amazing brand, and then now co-founding the sauna experience that I really hope, not just from a US level, but a global level, reaches and changes lives for the better and creates, again, community experiences. And that's what we're all about, is making sure that the craftsmanship is right, make sure that people can get the saunas quick and ship within 3 weeks, and make sure that not just the purchasing and the assembly and the user process is simple, but I want people to be able to bring their family and their friends along for the ride. And the more lives that we get changed through the research that's coming out in sauna, the better we're all going to be for it.
I love your why. I love founders of companies that are selling their why and not the what. And the why is so powerful for you, so powerful for Wyatt. It changed your lives, and you want to instill that same type of feeling on others through sauna. So that's cool. Let's talk a bit about the sauna. So Western red cedar, fits 6 people, Hume heater. Kind of give us the details of what SISU saunas are.
Yeah. So there's SISU sauna.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
SISU.
Yeah. No, you're fine. SISU. So tomato. But that said, we came up with this idea, and again, we wanted to really simplify sauna purchasing, sauna assembly, and sauna user end experience. And so we looked at, I'm a big backwards planner. So I look at like, this is what it needs to look like. In my mind, it was best heater on the market. It was natural light. It was making sure we source it with US based cedar, made sure from the craftsmanship side, we have the best craftsmen in the world. And we were able to, again, from like the Amish and the Finn American community, come together and build saunas quickly and efficiently and get them out to people quick. So like that's the end, but then like, all right, there's this middle process, which is the assembly. My sauna that I built out in my backyard took me an entire weekend. It was about 12 hours to build it out. Includes a roof kit, the whole thing. I followed a little bit of the video, but it wasn't the exact model. I love my sauna. I really do, but it took a long time. So working backwards, we're like, all right, how can we be the most efficient and easy assembly process? I just had somebody reach out saying that they built out their sauna in 45 minutes, specifically strictly just using the video. None of the actual manual, 45 minutes with him and his brother. And that's awesome to hear because, I want people to have, once this crate arrives, no matter what sauna you get, it's going to arrive in something big and it could be intimidating. Mm-hmm. I want somebody to be able to take the parts out, watch a video, and be done in about an hour to 2 hours with them and their family and just be like, wow, that was really fulfilling. I got to be a part of this experience. Now I get to enjoy the experience. Mm-hmm. So when you keep working backwards, you then look at, all right, here's the purchasing process. Well, the purchasing process on our end was very simple. What is the best model for not just a functionality component and a cost component for people, but also like what are the accessories that people need? What is the type of wood that people need? What is the band process like? How many people do we want to fit in the sauna? What are the dimensions? Do we want 7 foot or do we want 6 foot? How deep does it need to be for us to be able to get 6 to 8 people in? Mm-hmm. So we really narrowed it down to the exact model that you're looking at here. It's 6 foot diameter. Our original model was 7 feet, but the cost ends up going up about $1.5 grand. And all of a sudden now you're looking at 10 plus grand. You're now in the 5-figure area versus for us to be able to get down to that 6-figure for people where now we're 6 feet, 6 feet in diameter. It's a 6 foot 4 inch barrel when you include the cradles, and then 7 feet deep. So 3 people on each side comfortably can fit. A lot of our community experiences when we're doing hot and cold, at Black Flag, we'll end up putting 8 people in the benches, and that's what a lot of people are doing, or I should say 4 on each side, 8 people total. But the whole premise was for us to knock off what's happening in the sauna industry, which is here's this base model. What heater do I need to select? There's 3 different heater options. All right, what accessories do I need? Well, there's 8 different accessories. Do I need eucalyptus? Do I not need eucalyptus? Do it?
Yeah.
Like, where's the shipping? It's like, no. Here's where we're coming from. This is everything you need. Here's all the accessories. Here's the heater. Here's the exact size heater. Most people don't know the difference between 8 and 6 kilowatt heaters.
Yeah.
Like, this is the exact heater that you need. This is the exact size. Here's the price. And so it gives me peace of mind, and I hope it gives the consumer peace of mind that this is our price for this barrel. I'm going to ship to you in 3 weeks. Here's our flat rate for shipping. You're going to build it out quickly, and you're going to have an awesome experience hosting people in it.
Yeah, you certainly did simplify the buying experience of like, hey, this is what we think is best. If you want a 6-person sauna and you can lay down in it. The benches are super long. I'm 5'10". I can easily lay down in it. We have other friends that are much taller that can lay down in it as well. I also like all the natural light that comes in. So you have this window in the back, and then obviously the glass door in the front built into a wood frame. So there's lots of natural light that comes into it. And then you recently came out with that roof kit, which, for us, it already got really hot. I have not been setting it. And so we can set this to 230. I typically set it around 200. So I could go up 30 degrees if I wanted to. And with this roof kit, it just doesn't let any heat out at all. And, it heats up really fast with the roof kit. It's been, 30 degrees here at night lately in Colorado. And 45 minutes, it'll be at 200 degrees with the roof kit on. So that really made a big difference. And that's an asphalt roll, and then it's cedar shingles nailed on top of that asphalt roll, right?
Yep. And, we ended up creating that product out of just knowing or just experimenting with the product. At the start, it's like, here's the barrel. I think, and this goes for anybody who wants to start a business out there, don't be afraid to just start. Because if I would have overthought this process, I don't know if we would be talking on this interview, right, or on this podcast right now. We got the product out there, and we realized that there is an issue where there's more seepage than we wanted, and we did more and more research, and we found that other companies are experiencing the same thing, and they're selling these $300 basically canvas tarps so that you could go buy at Menards that's a Midwest store, Home Depot, Lowe's for $30.
Yep.
But that's not the aesthetic that people are going for. People are buying a sauna for that cedar look, that beautiful look, and we wanted to preserve that. But we're trying to encourage people that no matter what, if you put this outside, we highly, highly recommend that you get the roof kit option, because at some point or another it's going to rain, and it's also at the same time going to extend the lifespan of your sauna, which is, it's almost an insurance policy on your sauna to get this rain and ice guard. So, in Ohio, where my sauna is here, we'll get 3 feet of snow on the sauna. And some of my best sessions happen when we just had this massive snowfall and it looks like an igloo, and I'm getting in there and it is hot. It is so fun. But that roof kit really extends the life of the sauna and preserves the function. It traps the heat in. So even if you lived in a very, arid climate, you out there in Denver, it's almost like a desert on that side of the mountain. It still gets very hot, but what it does, again, it still traps the heat, and so it can be a more intense experience, but also makes the heater more functional, and it makes it much more efficient because now it's trapping all that heat in.
Yeah, I love that. I love that entrepreneurial advice too of just commit. I think that's the hardest part for people is they overthink it instead of just taking the first steps. Come out with a product, find a customer, you figure out who your target demographic is. I call it, the dog that wants the food, and then figure out someone who's going to amplify the message for you or a way to amplify the message. And that's exactly what you did, I think this was, within the first 10 units that you shipped out, and you've iterated on it. we replaced the benches. You beefed the benches up a bunch. You went with some screws instead of nails in different places. Like, you didn't hit the bullseye on the first one, but, you threw the dart, and now you have, I'm not sure how many you've sold, but let's say hundreds out there, just by, like, throwing the dart. You don't have to hit the bullseye on that very first throw. So you'll hit it eventually, but you need to iterate based on product feedback from customers.
And I think people are scared to make mistakes. I am
Yeah.
a product of my mistakes and my failures. I'm so happy every single one of them happened, even though during the process it sucks. Guess what? You're going to learn. If you are a forward-thinking person and you're mindset driven, you are going to learn from it, and you're going to improve your product, and you're going to improve the experience. And if you come from a very authentic perspective where you are out there to help people through your experience, I don't like to call the sauna a product. I think that there's other companies out there that will refer to their saunas as products. I refer to ours as experiences.
Yeah.
I know that we are going to change lives, change over 1 million plus lives through SISU Sauna Company by us continuing to learn from the feedback that we get and continue to refine the experience and be okay with knowing that over time, this product is going to get better and better and better. And we're going to, as we grow the team, we'll continue to get very knowledgeable people on sauna, but also I really want to build like a great, genuine sales force where people are not coming to us, feeling like they're getting a timeshare presentation. I want them to come and engage with our brand where they're like, oh man, like this is the process of which I need to be able to have a good sauna process. I don't think that like the way that we're going to have it set up is that people will actually be able to jump on a call where like we'll take them step by step of like exactly how I approached it with you. Here's the sauna, here's the accessories, here's the price, here's when you're going to receive your sauna, here's everything your electrician needs to know, here's the assembly process, and then here's how you're going to use it to the best of your ability. So there's no stones unturned. This is how we're going to make you have an awesome sauna experience and share it with people for the next 10 to 15 years. So we really want people to be educated on that.
I love that. I love what you're doing. I'm gonna back up my little podcast table, aka box jump, right now, and I'll give everybody a little outdoor tour of what the SISU sauna looks like.
Yep. So just so everybody knows, shameless plug for Eric. He's got the best backyard gym you've ever seen. And
we are fortunate.
Yeah.
We got some nice views here.
Incredible.
Yeah, so this is what the SISU looks like in our backyard. We put the lettering on. It's just barnwood that we got in Clayton, New York when we were visiting my family. And then we have the ice barrel right there. We have another ice barrel right there. So I like having them close to each other so you can just easily go back and forth between the sauna and the cold plunges.
Yep. So like Eric was saying too, this is a 6 foot wide sauna. So we've always toyed with, do we go back to the 7 foot versus the 6 foot? But I think based off what I was saying before too, just from a price perspective, we want this to be affordable for people. So that's why we've stuck with the 6 foot wide sauna. But the way that, if you guys can kind of see from here, the roof kit on Eric's sauna is very simple. So you'll build out the sauna itself. Again, it takes an hour to 2 hours, you and another friend, just watching the video. But on that roof kit, we've taken this rain and ice guard over the top hemisphere of the sauna, and then we got this beautiful cedar lap boarding that goes over the top. So it adds another 2 layers of protection to the sauna, while, in my opinion, even enhancing the aesthetic of the sauna itself. But it just makes the sauna so much more efficient. You'll also see on the sauna there's 3 cradles. That middle cradle is just a good support cradle. But the cradle itself, they're about 48 inches wide by 6 inches deep. And again, all that cedar. We recommend for anybody when they're building out their sauna to not put it directly on grass. Eric, this is turf, so that's fine. But like actual real grass or dirt, we do not recommend that. Rather, if anything, you would put it onto either a platform, concrete, turf, or in my opinion, what I've done, the easiest way is just river rock or crushed gravel. And that's what I put my sauna on. And it's just an easy way to be able to protect the sauna from the elements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love it. We did do, we had to have a 50 amp electrical run to it. So our electrical is right, I think you can see it right there underneath it.
Yep. And then, yeah, you're there. And then also at the same time, I think one of the questions we get to is like what type of electrical requirements are needed for the sauna.
Mm-hmm.
And for the 6 kilowatt Hume heater that is in this sauna specifically, in the 6x7, it's a 6 kilowatt. That is a 30 amp 240 line. It is hardwired, so this is not a plug-in sauna. Unfortunately, at the time, like right now, you are not able to just do a plug-in 110 volt standard outlet heater. So you would need to work with an electrician. And one of our goals is to be able to educate the electrician, have correspondence with the electrician to let them know how to best set this up so they can just hit the ground running when they come to set up the Hume heater.
Yeah, it was such an easy process. Dude, really appreciate this. Really appreciate you. I'm so stoked that we've become such good friends, and I
Yeah,
really
man,
hope that
absolutely.
people can take a lot away from this, and also, hopefully get a setup similar to this in their backyard so they can experience all of the incredible benefits that we've experienced from it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate all the opportunity, and I can't wait to get back out there, man, and
Yeah, come
get in the
soon.
sauna again with you. It sounds like
Yeah,
you're going to
brother.
be in Ohio here soon too, so
Yeah, I'll
we'll
see
have to get
you in
together and
2 or 3 weeks.
yes, absolutely, can't wait.
Hell yeah. Have a great rest of the day, Pete.
You too, man.
Later, brother.